Everybody, we are nearing the end of another week, just a couple more days in e-learning this week. Hopefully this is all going to come to a close and be wrapped up soon, but obviously our most important priority is staying safe and staying healthy forever, how long that takes. So we're on chapter 6, and we're going to be reading about the Declaration of Independence today, which you guys have all heard of. If you hear my dog barking, my neighbors and my husband are cutting grass, so I cannot get her to be quiet. All right, the Declaration of Independence. In May 1776, the Continental Congress met in Philadelphia. This time the delegates came as rebels, and we've heard of what a rebel is. We've heard it in Star Wars and things like that, but a rebel is somebody fighting against someone who you think has unfair control over you. So they weren't doing it because of a rebellious nature. They were doing it because they thought that the control that was being exercised by England was unfair. There were 56 delegates from the colonies. They wanted to be independent from Britain. The delegates decided to put this idea in a Declaration of Independence. Okay? So remember, war had already started. They were already in the middle of some battles, but basically they were going to declare what they wanted as a nation, as a country. And declaration means to say, independence means freedom. So they were giving a speech basically about the freedom that they thought that they deserved and needed. They chose Thomas Jefferson, we've heard of that guy before, from Virginia to help write it. They asked 4 other men to help him. Among them were John Adams of Massachusetts and Ben Franklin of Pennsylvania. It took Thomas Jefferson 17 days to write the Declaration. It took him a lot less days to write the Declaration than it did Henry Knox to pull a bunch of cannons. Each day he got up and played his violin. So sometimes when you're in the middle of working, especially e-learning, you might need to take a little break. I pull out my guitar, read a book, watch a little Netflix. He gets up and plays his violin. Then he began to put on his portable desk on a table and begin to write. The words he wrote would inspire people all over the world because we still talk about the Declaration of Independence. It's still one of our primary sources. Remember, I showed you that in a previous video. They continue to inspire us today. And this is actually the portable desk that he wrote on a picture. Ideas in the Declaration. In the first section of the Declaration, Jefferson wrote that all men were equal. They had the right to life, basically to live. They had the right of liberty, liberty meaning to be free. So life, liberty, and they had the right to seek happiness. So that means if they wanted to worship at a particular church that made them happy, if they wanted to go a particular job or an education that would make them happy. So life, they had the right to live. Liberty, they had the right to freedom. And then they had the right to seek happiness. Second, Jefferson wrote that people should be able to choose how they wanted to be governed. He said that the government should protect the people and respect their rights. And obviously, a lot of people in the midst of all of this coronavirus have been talking about people's rights. What are people's rights in the midst of a national pandemic like we're in the middle of now? And then this, remember I showed you from our primary source document, looks about the same. All of their declarations. If you've ever heard somebody say, sign your John Hancock right there, it was because he was one of the leaders that helped write it, and he signed his name bigger than everybody else. So John Hancock just means a signature. The Declaration also said that if people decided the government was not protecting them, they had the right to change it. And the way we change a government is by writing letters, peaceful protests. Remember we read about how Sarah Hale did that to get the first Thanksgiving in place. She wrote those letters. But Esther Morris, remember, with the women's right to vote. So we don't do it with violence. We have the right to change the government, but we do that by electing delegates. We do that by electing representatives. And we do that by having the voice of the people in what we call democracy, which is what they wanted. Finally, Jefferson listed all the wrongs the British had done to the colonists. He wanted everyone to know how Britain had treated the colonists. And remember, we called it unfair treatment. But not fair. The Declaration did not free slaves. It did not apply to women either. There were nearly 200 years of struggle before we had equality for all Americans. Fortunately, even though we were talking about Declaration of Independence, we did not free slaves nor women. 56 delegates signed it, and on July 4th, 1776, the delegates met in Independence Hall in Philadelphia to vote on the Declaration of Independence. They voted to accept it. The men knew that declaring independence from Britain was dangerous. If the colonists fought and didn't win, the British would punish them, maybe even hang them. Imagine them coming into towns and basically hanging men and raiding women and children and taking them into captivity. They knew they were going to have to be willing to fight for what they wanted. They knew they all had to work together. Benjamin Franklin said, "We must all hang together or most assuredly, we will all hang separately. So basically, unite together, or they are going to come in and be violent against us, and we will all be divided. After the vote, they rang a large bell at Independence Hall called the Liberty Bell. The bell rang all day. As the bell pealed out, people all over Philadelphia knew the Declaration had been approved. But they used to ring it all the time for holidays or national events, but it cracked in 1846. So they put something there to stop the crack, but it cannot ring today. The print shops and newspapers in Philadelphia rushed to print copies for the colonists. Riders leapt on their horses and galloped away to deliver the news. George Washington read a copy of the Declaration of Independence to his soldiers, and we're going to learn in I Survived that's actually what inspired them. But it was 2 months before all the 13 colonies learned the news. Tell me why you think it took 2 months for all 13 colonies to learn about the Declaration of Independence and why it said. Drop that in the comment section and let me know, why would it take 2 months for 13 colonies to receive word that the Declaration of Independence had been written? All right, we're going to read about a couple men and women of the American Revolution today. Thomas Jefferson owned a large plantation in Virginia. He was a lawyer with a love for learning. In fact, he founded the University of Virginia. Jefferson was the 3rd president of the United States. Benjamin Franklin had only 1 year of school, but he became a famous writer and scientist. There's your pictures here. Who spoke 3 languages. He was a smart guy. Franklin worked to get France's help in the war. Later, he helped write a truce with the British. John Adams was a lawyer from New England. He believed in justice. Even though he was a patriot, he defended British soldiers accused of killing people during the Boston Massacre. He was our 2nd president. Abigail Adams ran the family farm alone while her husband John was away. She told John Adams to remember the ladies when making new laws for the nation. Thomas Paine inspired the Patriots by writing a popular pamphlet called Common Sense. In it, he urged the colonists to break away from Britain. George Washington thought he was leaving home for 1 year to fight the British, and the war lasted 8 years. Have you ever been a part of something that lasted a lot longer than what you thought? Afterward, he became the 1st president of the United States. Our capital, Washington, D.C., is named after him. And John Hancock was the first to sign the Declaration. He wrote his name in big letters. He did so that the king could read it without his glasses. Today, when people sign their names on a letter, they say they're putting their John Hancock on it. So those are just a couple of men and women of the American Revolution. When we finish both books, that's actually going to be your assignment for about a week. So I'm going to give you a list of ones that you can research. You're actually going to turn that into a little bit of a research biography project for me, something a little bit different, to break up the monotony of our 2 novels back to back. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow via video. Remember, text, call, email me if you need me. Everybody's got my cell phone number, my email. Do your second assignment, the actual assignment that's for a grade. And remember, you're working on your language this week in Moby Max. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us about that. All right, everybody, see you guys later.